Alright, so we're going to continue with our cube here, and we're going to be adding a constant force to our rigid body. Now, in order for a constant force to work, you need to have a rigid body attached to your object. So once you have that done, let's go up to Component, Physics, and go down to Constant Force. Alright, so now we have a constant force tab under the inspector panel. Go ahead and open up all of these if you don't have them open already. Now force, if we hover over this, it says force applied globally. Now what that means is that we have two different types of coordinates in our scene view here. We have global and we have local. Global refers to this little gizmo up here. As you can see, we have our X pointing this way, our Y up and down, and our Z is actually pointing towards the camera right now. So the force will be applied along the X axis based on the global coordinates. So let's go ahead and change this to say 30. And let's go ahead and hit play. So you can see the cube is basically being pushed that way. Let's go ahead and adjust our camera a little bit. And we'll move the cube over here. And we're going to go ahead and align with view. Alright, so our cube should actually go across the screen to the left. Let's go ahead and hit play again. And there goes our cube. So that is a force being applied to our rigid body, our cube, going towards the x-axis in our global coordinates. Click 0. Now for relative force, if we change the x-axis to 30 and we go ahead and select this little icon up here, we can see the local coordinates now. Now in this case, the x-axis is actually pointing towards this way, so the cube will actually move towards the right now. So let's go ahead and adjust our camera. And now let's go ahead and hit play. And there we go. So that is force and relative force. Now underneath we have torque and relative torque. Now torque applies to our global values and relative torque applies to our local values. So once again we can change these values. So if we change it back to global, x-axis is this way. Now for torque, it's going to basically rotate our object along that axis. You can think of each of these axes as a axle. So it's going to rotate along the x-axle. Change it to 30, press enter, and you can see that it's pretty much spinning along that axle. I'm going to go ahead and move my camera a bit. Alright, so that is torque applied in the global parameters. So let's go ahead and try another one. Let's go with 30 in the y-axis, and it's going to rotate basically counterclockwise or clockwise. So it's rotating clockwise right now along that y-axis, which is up and down. Now for relative torque, once again, let's go ahead and check our local parameters. And it's going to be spinning along these axis right here. So it's going to be spinning this way or this way. So we're going to change the 30 in the y parameter. You can see it's rotating clockwise. And we can also set this to a negative 30 and it should start rotating counterclockwise. There we go. Now you can apply multiple types of forces to this. We can have a force of 20 in the global parameters and a relative torque of say 20 in the y. So let's go ahead and zoom out a bit. And let's adjust our camera. Now if we hit play, we can see that it's rotating and it's pushing the box towards the left side of the screen. Alright, so that is how you use the constant force. Now once again, you can only use constant force on a rigid body. So you want to make sure that you have a rigid body attached to your object before you start playing around with the constant force.